Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talks at Google. My name is Cristian Rodriguez, and I work for Google Devices and Services and co-lead at Ola chapter in London. Today, I'm very excited to host this interview with an amazing guest speaker. But before introducing him, I want to remind the audience that you can submit your questions to our speaker via the chat, and we will try to ask as many as possible at the end of this interview. Today's guest speaker is Alfonso Herrera. And this talk will center around his career, his journey, and his participation in the final season of the Emmy-nominated series Ozark. Alfonso is one of the most recognizable Latin American talents who has portrayed an amazing characters in television, such as participating in the Mexican telenovelas Clase 406 and my personal favorite, Rebelde. He has given life to important characters in very emblematic films, such as The Perfect Dictatorship and Netflix The Dance of the 41, for which he won an Ariel Award for Best Male Actor granted by the Mexican Academy of Cinematographic Sciences and Arts. Finally, he has starred in multiple fan-favorite TV shows such as Sense8, The Exorcist, Queen of the South, and most recently, given life to Javi Elizonndro in the first and second part of the final season of Netflix drama series Ozark. Without further ado, here it is, Alfonso Herrera.
Hola, Cristian. Hi.
Hola, Alfonso. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm actually enjoying the weather here in LA. I've been here for a couple of days because I started a new project, but I'm very happy to talk to you and to speak with this amazing audience.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're so happy to have you with us here at Google, and we are looking forward to know more about what you're working on. And thank you for participating today in this talk named Ozark and Beyond. So, Alfonso, we cannot wait for tomorrow to the second part, for the premiere of the second part of Ozark. So, to remind the audience, right, can you tell us what is your role in Ozark and how it fits into the story? Please remind us.
Well, I play Javi Elizonndro. He is Omar Navarro's nephew, and in his view, he wants to be the successor of this family business and this family, en este negocio familiar. Let's put in some Spanglish. And yes, in order to achieve that, he has to prove himself, and also he has to prove the Byrde family and also his family, in this case, Omar Navarro and his entourage, that he is capable of doing that.
Perfect. And I love how you mix the Spanish with the English. I think that's something that is very special in the character. So when we see like Javi on screen, we cannot avoid feel tense for what the character will do. So I imagine that it should be very difficult to bring a character like this to life. What techniques do you use to give life to Javi Elizonndro?
Well, when you receive a script, first of all, Ozark has an amazing structure. Each project has a backbone, and that backbone is a script. So if you have a strong backbone, basically you have very good elements to have something good for the audience. And in this case, the scripts were just simply amazing. So us as actors, we grab the script and we start to acquire and all these little bits and pieces in order to construct our characters. And in this case, I gathered all this information from the scripts, and also I had the possibility of constructing these other pieces of trying to understand where he was from, what was the relationship with his mother, with his father, if he had a father, if there was a relationship between them both, and how was the interaction. So that, in a certain way, has built the character, and these other pieces that built the whole image of Javier. Also, Javier has been portrayed as a hot-headed, unpredictable character, but he's in a certain way someone that I enjoyed playing it so much because he's a very fun guy. I mean, putting apart or putting aside all the guns and the violence. He's a very fun guy, and he's very entertaining, and also he likes to have good conversations. He likes to have a good glass of wine. He likes to enjoy life. He likes to live in the present, and he's a person that, in my personal opinion, he's very truthful. He speaks, or he's the one of the few characters in this show that speaks in a very direct and truthful way, which is funny for a villain, right? It was incredible to play this character, and I'm so excited for you guys to see what's next in this second part.
Amazing. I think, yes, when we see Javi on the screen, right, we cannot avoid feeling like a sense of unknown what is going to happen, right? Because it's very impulsive, but at the same time, like you say,
Exactly,
very
and
decisive.
also that brings other thing that is very interesting to the table. When we were shooting, because he's so unpredictable, and I've said this in many other interviews, you have so many options that could fit in, because you don't know how he's going to react. So I remember when we were shooting the scene with the birds at this restaurant, the oyster scene.
Mhm.
I tried so many things, and it was such a fun scene to play, because there were so many lectures underneath just the regular talk, right? But yeah, that's why Javi is so fun. There are so many possibilities as an actor to to choose for many other scenes.
Perfect. And I think you say that you have a script and you try to get into the character, but is there something that you personally, like, you add to that character that is not in the script? Like you say, you go into the character, right? And I love it. I don't know, the language, the attitude. Is that Javi in some way similar to you? What do you bring to that
No, no,
character?
no, no, no. Javi, he's not similar to me. I no, 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 no. The last time I got into a fight, I was like 13 years old, and that was like a long time ago. Uh, what I have to say, I added lots of Spanish into Javier. This Hola Marty thing was something that I thought that it could fit in, and it fit very well. Like it really got into Ozark fans. So there are like actually like some hashtag Hola Marty things on the internet. And yeah, I added some Spanish bits and pieces that Chris Mundy, which is the showrunner, he loved it. Also Jason Bateman, he said that it was okay for me to do that, and it was a good good possibility to do that.
Perfect. And can you tell us, because we cannot put into the life of an actor, right? We just see like the final product of the story.
Mhm.
How is the day in the set? What do you do as an actor, for example? How is your day to day?
Well, when we were shooting Ozark, it was peculiar because we were shooting during the second wave of the pandemic of the COVID-19. Uh, it was funny because we had I woke up, I took a shower, had some breakfast, I took my car to set. I arrived there. I went directly to makeup, to hair, and you have to take all these precautions in order to maintain distance, etc.,
Mhm.
etc. And it was basically go to set and run the scene with the director, run the scene with either it was with I most of my scenes were with Jason, so it was running the scenes with Jason, talk through it, go through the options or the things that I thought that could fit in, the thoughts that Jason we heard Jason's thoughts into the scene, and then we mark it. And after maybe 2 or 3 times that we mark the scene, we know the positions, the where the camera angles were going to be.
Mhm.
We shoot that, and that was all over or over and over and over through all the day, through all the scenes. A good thing about the show is that we didn't shoot that scene, so we could focus on maybe 2 or 3 scenes at the most. So when you have a lot of time in order to concentrate on one scene,
Mhm.
that's like a huge difference. And in my personal opinion, it's better when you have the possibility of shooting maybe 1 or 2 scenes. Yeah, just to concentrate on that and making the most out of it.
Perfect. And most of the times when we see Javi are very intense it seems, right? Do you, I don't know, how do you feel that, like when you're shooting on that one? How do you play that character, like seriousness, but also coming into splash of blood, etc.? So it's like, are they difficult to film? What is like the technique that you use to embrace the
Well,
character
Javier,
at this moment?
he's very cold when he applies violence. He Violence is something that is in his nature, so there is nothing awkward or uh, outstanding when he uses violence. So you have to bear that in mind when he grabs a gun, when he is going to be aggressive towards someone. It's something that it's in his nature. And yeah, I just bear that in mind when I had to pull a gun, shoot at someone. It's like a something that
It's an interesting
it's in his
character.
life. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. And we're very curious. Like, for example, how do you audition for a part like this? Like now that you are like, we've seen you in multiple roles, different roles, right? What kind of roles interest you at the moment? How do you choose a part and you say, I want to participate, and how the audition process works?
Well, if you talk about the process of how I got into Ozark, I was
Yes.
in Mexico City, locked in my apartment. I received an email from my agent, and he said, "Hey, do you know the show Ozark? They're looking for a Latin character." And I said, "Great, send me the scenes." They sent me the scenes. I studied scenes for 4 days nonstop because I really wanted to be part of this. And on one hand, I mean, it's Ozark. It's like this
Correct.
bigger than life show. Uh, so it was unimaginable for me at that time to say, okay, I'm going to be part of this show. And then I went. I had an audition with an amazing casting director that is still in New York, and I read the lines with her. I read the lines with the producer, and 4 days later, I received the news that I had to travel to Atlanta to start shooting
Right.
Ozark. And regarding to the other question that you did, I think that what I try to do is I'm always searching for great stories, great characters that put me in a place where I need to work, where I can yeah where I can work and where I can grab the script and dig in a deep way.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I think we will have some questions more about your future projects and what you're looking for there. So I just want to focus then on Ozark, right? Because I think we're looking forward to the premiere tomorrow, April 29. Is there anything that you can tell us about what to expect without spoiling? I know that you're
No,
restricted,
no, no,
but
no, no. I'm not gonna. No me voy a
uh-huh.
caer. No voy a trastabillar. Eh, what I can say is that they really saved the best for the last bit, and this is a huge. Uh, it's huge. It's when I was reading the end of it, I just couldn't believe it in a very good way. Like uh, you'll see. I really think they saved the best for the last bit, and also no one is safe. No one is safe in this new bit. You can expect basically everything. Everything is possible, and
Wow.
that's what I can say. I don't wanna dig in more.
No, definitely. You definitely make us want it to be already tomorrow so we can watch it, and definitely with Javi in the we don't know what to expect. So okay, I think moving on into part of your career, right? Because I personally see you in screen when I was a kid, right? And I grew up with your characters,
What are
etc.
you talking about? You're still a kid, Christian. How old are you?
Still, I
You're
will not disclose
22.
that.
What?
I will not disclose that. But yeah, I'm a little bit older than that. But thank you for the compliment.
You
I
are a
wanted to
kid.
thank you, thank you. I want to ask you, when did you decided to become an actor? How this passion for acting, for playing roles, came up, and what was the first participation that you have?
Well, I
How
lived
did?
in Mexico City, and I was in a theater project. when I was a teenager. And in that theater project, a very good friend of mine, Jimena Sariñana, she invited me to do an audition for a film that her father was gonna start shooting in 2002. And I went to the audition, and I got the part. But actually, what I wanted to do, I wanted to study aviation, and so I started shooting this film. And I said, perfect. When I finish shooting this film, I'm gonna go study aviation in San Antonio, Texas. And I also
Okay.
applied to this school, commercial aviation, and they accepted me. And after doing Amarte Duele, which was my first gig, in that movie, Pedro Damian, actor, producer, and director, which is that works a lot in Mexico, he invited me to do an audition for a Mexican TV show that was called Clase 406. And so I went there. I went to Televisa, and I said, I'm never gonna get this part. So I went there. I remember my first audition was with Iran Castillo at stages there. And actually, it was a very fun scene, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I remember Iran from many TV shows. So it was like, I can't believe it. I'm doing this in Televisa stages, whatever. So I got the part. And after I finished that, I said, perfect. So when I finish this soap opera, I'm going to finally go study aviation. And then Pedro Damian, after that, invited me to do this TV show called Rebelde. And I was this close of not doing Rebelde and going to study aviation, because I finished Clase 406, then 9 months passed and nothing happened. And I called Pedro and I said, Pedro, what should I do? Should I wait for you? Should I go? What should I do? And he said, no, please wait for me. I'll wait. And I waited. And after that, there was no possibility to go do aviation and to go study aviation, because Rebelde was a huge hit in Latin America in
the war, I guess.
We know what Rebelde was and what Rebelde still is. It's something that fans love, and was and one of the most important projects in my career.
Perfect. And I think we are so lucky to actually, for you not to choose aviation and to go into acting, because you mark a generation of people, right? I think Rebelde, the story, the songs, everything is part of one already, right? At this stage. So okay, so you have been like working in TV shows, films, on stage. What is the project that you like the most so far? Is there anyone that is special?
I can't choose one. I can say that each and every single project is special, because the experience that you acquire on stage, in front of a camera, or behind the cameras, or building this theater company in order to do something interesting for the audience, it's something unique. I can say that each project has its uniqueness, and that is something beautiful.
Okay, perfect. Good. You have like that's a good answer. But is there any specific character role that has been more challenging for you to play? I think
Yes.
it's different from.
I can say that Carlos Rojo, the character that I played in the Perfect Dictatorship, directed by Luis Estrada, was something very tough. It was one of the most challenging characters in my career.
Why is that?
Because Luis Estrada, he's a genius. He's one of the best directors I've ever worked with, and he knows exactly what he doesn't want, and he knows exactly what he wants on that moment for that specific take. So his level of precision is something I've not seen elsewhere. Yeah, I would have said, I would say Carlos Rojo in that project. Also, Ignacio de la Torre with The Dance of the 41. It was a very challenging character. obviously having the possibility to work with David Pablos. In my personal opinion, David Pablos is one of the best directors in Latin America. He's a very good friend. He's one of the best directors I've met also. And yeah, and not so long ago, I did a stage work. We did the Deaf Poet Society on stage in Mexico City, and it was challenging because when you think on that story, immediately what comes to your mind when you're talking about Professor Keating, Robin Williams pops out.
Okay.
So it was interesting to create something completely different, but at the same time that could inspire in the story the students and also the audience, but at the same time with a completely different energy from what Robin Williams did previously, which is outstanding. And I think that with Francisco's view, the director from that play, I think we achieved something very beautiful. And yeah, I would say that. But these are the three characters that comes to my mind right now.
Perfect, and probably it's like the most characters that we like the most in the movies, right? Just like the perfect dictatorship, being Mexican is just like one of our favorite movies, right? For all of us, it's very emblematic, very representative. So
typically, what Luis Estrada he knows how to do perfectly is to create a very exact blueprint of the context and the situation in Mexico at this moment. That's his specialty, and I think no one does that better than him.
Perfect, and also your role.
Many other directors have tried, and they've done very good exercises in order to achieve that. But Luis Estrada is Luis Estrada.
Perfect. And I'm talking about the people and actors that you say that you look up to. Is there anyone in specific that you actually want to mirror? Someone who has inspired you and continues to inspire you in your career now?
Yes, I admire Damian Alcázar. He's been a very important figure for me in order to keep working. He's a colleague that I admire. He's a person that I look up in a very positive way because he's very generous with all the actors, with all the colleagues, with all people that are around on set. And he once told me something that I always bear in mind. And he said that our job as actors is to play, but also to help other people to make their life easier. Like,
correct.
If you can help the guy from sound, do it. If you can create a direct communication with a focus puller in order to make his work easier, do that. I mean, that's our job to create a family. And I mean, we're all there. All the elements are there to create a good story. So we decide to make it easy, to make it easier or not. And that is something that I will always remember from Damian.
Perfect. That is a powerful message, right? I think agreed on the role of the actor is to portray these stories of people, right, and how to identify with themselves. I know, like, this challenging, like the dance of the 41 targets a group, right, and I don't know, it cannot express the story that we want to see, right? In the past we didn't have, or etc. So with this, I think the idea is, what is the reaction of your fans? Have you seen like anything about, oh, that character really represents me, right? Because you tell my story. What is the reaction of the fans in general? Have you received anyone that is memorable to you?
Well, I've received many comments, and that is always welcome. Good comments, not so good comments, that are also welcome, and that's the beauty of our job, that it echoes each and every single individual in different ways. And yes, for example, I remember Sense8, when the fans knew that this show was being canceled, they created like this huge movement in order for for the story to have an end, a finale. And actually they achieved that, and they convinced Netflix to create a 2 hour episode that was beautifully shot by Lana. And I will always be grateful with Lana because she was so inspiring. Her messages, her empathy, and I will always be grateful with her. I think after Sense8, something changed in me in a very beautiful way, like the way I perceive our surroundings, our communication, how in a certain way we are interconnected in a deeper level. It's present, it's there. And I remember Lana on the first table reads, she gave us an example of how trees and how forests are interconnected underneath in the ground, and they communicate and they send messages, and in a certain way that's how we human beings are connected, not just in a physical level but also in a deeper level. And I don't want to go too deep. It could sound a little bit strange for some people, but I do believe that in a very deep way. And Lana Wachowski is Lana Wachowski. She's bigger than life. She has created beautiful projects. She revolutionized cinema in very deep levels. So I feel very lucky to meet her and also to work with her in Mexico City. I remember one time we were in Mexico City shooting a street scene, and I went through that street many times when I was going to school, when I was going to with friends, and all of a sudden I was there sharing set with Lana in a bus stop in Mexico City. And I said, I've seen this bus stop so many times, and now I'm here with Lana. When I was 16 years old, I escaped school in order to go see Matrix, and now I'm here with her, working with her. So it's beautiful.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Yes, a different meaning to a past life, and it's so interesting to hear how people actually mark your career or the way how you perceive the world. That's exactly what you do with your characters. I must say, right?
And that is why I say that each and every single project is beautiful and it's unique, because it's not like that you take. It's like it goes with you. It travels with you forever, and that is the beauty of our job.
Awesome, amazing. Well, we're looking forward for Ozark. I think that's the most recent project that we know of you, but maybe you can tell us something about what is next. What is beyond
I cannot
Ozark?
say that much, man.
No, but there is something exciting.
I cannot
in the pipeline,
say that much, man, because yeah, Netflix is not going to be very happy about it. But I'll try. What I can say is, talking about Javier, talking about his.
I was talking about your career, Alfonso. Something else, probably.
Yeah, you were talking about my career. I thought you were.
Yeah. I know exactly. I don't want to put you in the spotlight. I was talking about, okay, once Ozark, I know is your recent project, right? But we would like to see more stories coming from you. Is there something in the pipeline for Alfonso in TV, films, something that you can share with us?
Right now I am in Los Angeles because I'm going to start a project here. It's a movie, also by Netflix. It's the new Zack Snyder film, and I'm here preparing, training, etc. for this project, and I'm very excited to collaborate with him. I mean, Zack's films. I mean, who hasn't seen Zack Snyder's film? I mean, you've seen at least two, at least. And yeah, I'm very excited, and yeah, I'm very happy to share set with colleagues and with amazing people that I admire. And yeah, it's a beautiful experience to be here and to be part of this project.
All right, perfect. We look forward to seeing that project. So if you would have a magic wand and you can participate in whatever TV show that you want, what would that be?
I would say rebelde. No, I'm just kidding.
The new Rebelde. Have you seen it? No. Yes.
I saw the first episode. And what I really like about that show is the representation of Latin America, and I
All
think
right.
that's beautiful. Like, it creates a very rich environment, and in a certain way, it represents what we are as Latinos, and that is something beautiful. And but going back to your question, I don't know, man. I think that
Character
I
do
don't
you
know.
like to
I don't know. Let
play?
me think about that. Let me think about that, and I'll answer that a bit later. Let me como diríamos en español, déjame añejar the idea.
Procésalo. Procésalo. Yes, no problem at all. And in a similar note, is there any actor that you would like to work with? Any director that you would like to work with just because of how your career is progressing right now? Someone that is like you admire and I would like to share screen set with this person?
What I am open is to find stories that intrigue me, that make me think, okay, this is something that I really want to share. I mean, when I was 16 years old, I was just a guy from Guadalajara that played soccer in a place near Patria and Tepeyac, and
Correct.
I've never imagined working with Lana or with Zach or being directed by Robin Wright, and that's the beauty of this, like, to be open. And something that I really like is to have the consciousness of wanting to learn and to be open to learn. Because if you think that you know everything,
Correct.
that's when things start to collapse. When you arrive to a project with this possibility and this openness to still learn from from actors, from sound department, from camera department, we are still in the process of learning. That creates something beautiful, and that generates a beautiful consciousness in order to go to another family, and that has helped me a lot. That consciousness, or try to apply that consciousness.
Perfect. So, for example, you have played in stage, you have seen TV. Is it different to play characters in these environments? Which one would you say is the most difficult? I don't know. It's just because it seems like when you're on stage, you can actually see you, right? People can actually see you live. You can actually tell the story, etc. Where it's a repetitive story, probably. When someone in TV, now that we see you on screen, do you think the characters are different? Is this something that you like more inclined to do? Like,
well, when you do stage work, it's beautiful because even though you're doing that play for the 30th time or the 50th time, you're still discovering things. And I remember I did a play like 12 years ago in Mexico City, and I remember it was the last play. It was the last show, and I and I was still discovering things from the character, and I was still discovering, and I was like, I had so many eureka moments when the season was about to finish, and that is beautiful. Also, the energy of working on stage it's beautiful also because you have to not just you but also the whole company, they have to feel each and every single space from the theater, so the energy has to be very present and very live, and not live obviously, that's más que obvio, pero has to be very present, and you're acting for probably 1,000 people on a theater, and when you are working on TV or in cinema, you have to understand the energy of the character and either contain it or explode it, depending on many things, many things.
Correct. And I would imagine the difference. For example, you have done concerts, right, when you're singing, and you can actually see the love of the people, the passion right there, right? That is like that
Yes.
energy. And stage, you
Yes.
say the
Oof.
same.
That is something beautiful, man. I remember like being at the Maracanã Stadium with 80,000 people there, completely engaged. Also, I remember the Estadio Nacional in Chile. It was beautiful. Also, the first concert we did with Rebelde at El Campín. No, actually, we did 3 concerts in Colombia. We did Cali, we did Medellin, and we did Bogota. And the 3 of them, they were just great. I think the first one was in Medellin, the second one was in Cali, and then the third one was in Bogota.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very special. Specifically, the last concert in Bogota, it was raining, and all the fans were there, completely engaged, accepting the rain, accepting the weather. And we said, I remember we saw with each other, and we said, okay, we need to go. And we were with them, like also accepting the weather, accepting the conditions, and it was something beautiful. Um, Also, when we went to Serbia, to Belgrade, poof, I couldn't believe that we were like so many miles away from home, so many kilometers away from home,
Mm-hmm.
and there were these teenagers with the same questions, with the same uh, vulnerability, hearing to our songs. It was something beautiful.
Perfect. And I can imagine I am so jealous of that people who can actually go there. Like I said, you mark a generation. I still think of that songs, if I am honest, and I can see it, like people who
So you're saying that I am old, Christian?
no, no. Maybe both of us,
No, no,
like I
no, no, no.
said.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
No, we're still young. We're
I'm
still
kidding,
young, right?
Christian. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but is this something that you would like to do again? I know that singing probably is part of an all right, like part of your career, etc. But is this something that you still had
No,
like
I'm
something
very
there?
comfortable. I'm very comfortable with the project that I have right now, and the beauty of that process of that project was that we gave 100% when we were there, and obviously each and every single member from that project, they are completely engaged with their projects, with their acting career, with their music careers. That I think
Perfect.
that speaking about or talking about my experience in my work, I think that my voice sounds louder in a different stage, and I feel very happy with what I have right now, and I feel very fortunate, and I have a lot of appreciation with the process that I'm going right now.
Perfect. And we have seen your evolution, and honestly, it's just like we've seen your stories, your participation in films, etc. We see you evolve into a different level, right? Your stories hit us different. So we have a couple of minutes
Gracias.
before we open to the audience. So I just want to focus really on what is next for you, right? So I want to go back to the question of, is there any specific show, character, something that you like to do, right? I would like to see where you're going next so we can be prepared.
Well, um, I love sports. I personally love soccer. That that's the most beautiful game in the planet. And if someone thinks differently, the open is here for us to discuss. And
Okay.
I want at once I remember I did a TV show called El Diez
Mm,
that showed the circus of soccer in Mexico.
okay.
But I would love to tell stories that had to do with soccer, that had to do with the beauty of this sport, and I would love to find a story that could create an echo in Latin American cultures in that talk about soccer. What? I don't know, but I would love, like, if there would be another season from El Diez, oof, I would be so in. Like Chavez Pinoza as a coach, I would do that again,
Okay.
of course.
Fantastic. I think we're all passionate about football, so we're passing the notes to Netflix on the remake of Club de Cuervos. I don't know if that's the position or something like Kuno Becker in the Real Madrid. I think that was also like a movie for the football fans.
Well,
but
I have to say something with all due respect to Club de Cuervos. We did this story many, many years before Club de Cuervos.
Okay.
I don't know.
Correct. Okay, perfect. But that's
and wait. Luis Gerardo, he's an amazing actor. He's a very good friend, and they all did an amazing job. And I say this with a lot of respect, and I'm just joking, but we did it before.
Okay, perfect. Good. No comment on that one.
I'm just joking about that.
Before jumping into the public, is the last one that I want to ask you from my side is like, in your life,
Saludos
right?
a Luis Gerardo.
When somebody portrays your life in a film, right? What kind of story you will tell, and who will you like them to play you?
Now you're saying that I am old.
No. It's just like I always hear it for like actors. Like, I want someone who remakes my life.
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I think that my career is so short that I have many other things to share, and let's talk about that probably like hopefully 30 years ahead.
Fantastic.
No,
Yeah, totally.
I think that I still have more things to share in order to create something more complex and richer.
Perfect,
more rich,
perfect.
sorry.
No, we totally agree, Alfonso. We want to see you more, right? More of your stories, and definitely we see in your career going in that trajectory. Yeah, on a personal level, I love to see every time that you're in a project, right? It's just like high quality, a good story.
Gracias,
so yeah, well done on that side. So now we will open the questions for the public. So I would like to ask you some. It says you are so very talented, Alfonso. Will we ever see the return of Father Thomas Ortega?
I would love that. I would love that. That would be great. Specifically, that was such a beautiful show. And working with Ben Daniels, Jeremy Slater, he is a genius also. And I would love that. Unfortunately, we should ask. I'm not the right person to answer that, but if there's a possibility of continuing that story, I would be more than happy, and I would be 100% in, 100%.
Perfect. That's a good answer. So we have another question. Sari Cohen, I'm a fan since RBD, all of us. I'm from Mexico too, and I love seeing other Mexicans representing. What advice do you have for those who wants to pursue an acting career, but have no experience?
Just be consistent on working on your dream. If you're consistent and if you wake up and you do a tiny little something in order to achieve that each and every single day, something will happen. I mean, if you do 1%, just 1%, after 1 year you'll have 365% more. So just wake up and do something about that. Work towards your dream. Just aunque sea algo poquito, pero para ir caminando.
Paso a pasito. Well, that's amazing advice for all of us. Thank you. So we have another question. Rafaela Fajardo, what was your favorite scene to shoot in Ozark? That's a good one.
I had many scenes that were incredible, but I would have to say that those scenes were in episode 8, and I cannot talk about them.
Okay, we will need to wait. I know that we're desperate, but thank you. We have another question. You can ask me about lots of things. Joshua Garza, I read an article that the Dance of the 41 is based on historical events. Are there additional facts on the character person you portray?
Well, obviously, it's an interpretation of how I imagined and how David Pablos and I imagined Ignacio de la Torre. but most of the things that we shared in that film were true. This figure of Evaristo is a piece that David and all the writers team they created in order to create a love triangle to tell the story in a better way. But most of the things that are on that film were actually true.
Okay, perfect. And again, I think that was a very powerful story, right? That really make feel like everyone who identifies with the character tells a very sensitive story about a certain type of people, right? And in Mexico, and a culture, stereotypes, etc. So
And I
well
think it
done.
was, and I think it's a very beautiful project, and it's a very beautiful film that creates representation, that
Correct.
creates empathy, respect, and I think that has to be present in Mexico, and specifically there has to be empathy and respect to the LGBT community, because they brought and they bring so much to our society, and that.
Perfect. No, we love that story, that movie. Really, yeah, it was well done in that character. It's a
Gracias.
powerful story. We have
Gracias,
another
Cristian.
question. Carolina Leal, you're amazing. Alfonso, that
Gracias,
says.
Carolina.
Any type of character you'd like to play but haven't done it yet?
I
think
would
we
love
want
to
know
play
that.
a boxer,
Oh,
an
cool.
old boxer. Yeah,
Is
I
there
would
any?
love to play a boxer. I love box too, and I love sports. I love boxing, and why not? Let's boxer probably.
All right, but any personal
Well,
boxer you admire?
I'm a huge I'm a huge fan of Salvador Sanchez. Rest in peace. I think that if he didn't die so young, he would have been one of the best fighters in history. But unfortunately, he died in a car accident, and yeah, so yeah.
Perfect. Now we see what is your like preference, right? Towards like sportsman,
I love that.
which is
I love
good.
that.
Those are very, very powerful stories, right? On resilience, on teamwork, on
I saw
overcoming
not so long.
challenges.
I saw not so long ago a documentary from Pep Guardiola, and it talks about soccer, but at the same time, it talks about the importance of teamwork and how this guy, the mentality of this coach, how he transmitted that to his players, and he convinced them that those 22 players were the best in the world, and look what he achieved. He achieved
Exactly.
everything. He achieved Premier League. He's in the semifinals for the Champions League. He won the Carabao Cup. He's won everything in every single team he's been in Germany, in Spain, in England, and it has to do with the mentality. And yes, it talks about
Correct.
soccer, but at the same time, it has nothing to do with soccer. It has to do with what you have inside.
The mindset. Oh, I can see you. I can definitely see you in a character being a motivational, inspirational, right? Like inspiring the people to reach the best. That would be a very important character.
Amazing.
Perfect. We move on to another question from the audience.
Por favor.
Juliana Manguiza, you were amazing in Ozark, and you still are, right? We still don't know how it ends. The best is yet to come. What was your biggest challenge when you started your career?
I would say me. I was the biggest challenge, because when I started doing a lot of TV and telenovelas, and in a very, I don't know, peculiar way, some people think that type of projects are different and should be observed in a very different way. I don't understand that, but it is what it is. Some people have different opinions and thoughts regarding projects, and many directors and producers at that time that I wanted to work with, they didn't want to work with me because of the project that I picked in the early moments from my career. And all of a sudden, I started working little by little, trying to go towards the career and the project that I wanted, that I was focused on. And if I believed them on what they thought about the projects I was in, or that would have been the end of me if I was convinced on what they were thinking about me. And something that was incredible was that I never doubted on what I had, and I never doubted on what I was capable of. So many things and many people had many opinions about that, but I had my own opinion about me, and no one took that away from me. That was always present with me, and I think that's important. Sometimes the biggest enemy is not outside; it's inside of you.
That is a very powerful message for everyone. Yes, I think I believe in yourself, follow your gut, chasing your dream, right? That's a powerful message, Alfonso. Thank you very much for sharing that.
And I'm not saying it, and I'm not saying this in a corny way. It really does. If you sometimes believe what they're talking about you, or their angle towards what you're doing, it's a very narrow perspective. No one knows better yourself than you, so the answers are always inside of you. The thing is that you have to be very honest with you in order to to achieve those answers.
Perfect. And I can say you're an inspiration for all of us, and like removing those taboos, those stereotypes, right? Like everybody here, like my colleagues, my friends, everyone here in the chat just say, right, is to have a Mexican actor playing in these international stories, helping that representation, right? Removing that barrier of
Gracias, Christian.
Can we make it or not? And you are there, right? Like bringing
but I
the
think
flag.
that there are many Latinx actors that have made our job easier, such as Demian Bichir. I mean, he came here and he really set the terrain in better conditions for us that we were following him. So it's I think it's a teamwork.
Perfect. So we will go to one last question of the public, and then we will close up this the conversation. So let me see if there is another question. Rafaela Fajardo, I follow you since your RBD days. What was the biggest change you encountered when filming in LATAM versus moving into American productions?
I think it's the same thing. I think that it's just a group of people trying to tell the story in the best way possible. Sometimes in Latin America, you have not so much time. So there are not so many, there's not so much time in order to tell the story. And when I say there's not so much time, it means resources, which makes it more valuable what we do in Latin America, because with what we have, we still have the possibility to share amazing and great stories that can go beyond barriers. So I think that, but I always say that they are the same cameras, same lights, same equipment, same team trying to tell the story the best way possible.
Perfect. Do your best wherever you are. I think we get that message. Thank you for that, Alfonso. And okay, now we're moving to the last questions. And I wanted to ask, since you are here at Google, right? I'm very curious. We're very curious to know which is your favorite Google product? How do you use it? What do you like about the Google services? Tell us.
Well, I like everything. I have this possibility of us having this conversation. I think this is something great, and this is something that can bring people together, and especially this type of esta dinámica, this exercise, that is something that I really enjoy, and I am very grateful with Google with the possibility of inviting me to this talk, the possibility of being part of this session, and I hope as we set this off the air, this is the first one of many more. And let's try to do one in Spanish for the Spanish-speaking audiences, for the Portuguese audiences. I would be more than happy. Camila, if you're hearing me, let's make this happen.
Definitely. I think there was one conversation. Shall we do it in Spanish, like in the character or English and Spanish, right? I think it's important for everyone. Was so happy to have you in here. You won't see like.
We should invite someone from Brazil. We should invite someone from Brazil and have like a Portuñol, Spanish, English conversation. That would be awesome. That would be incredible.
Perfect. I think like the team will take notes for future opportunities, but it's super nice to have one Latin American, Mexican representation at Google. That's so great. So, okay, just to finish, any last words, Alfonso, do you want to say to your fans, to the people who are waiting for the final season of Ozark? Anything that you want to tell us about to close?
One word in Spanish. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Alfonso.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you very much for joining us at Talks at Google. We are so happy to have you here. We have a lot of important messages from your side. We wish you the best in your career. We look forward to see what Javi Elizonndro will do tomorrow in the premiere, April 29 of Ozark. And we will keep in touch. Thank you very much for
and also, Christian, a very, very quick thing. I want to thank you and I want to thank all the team, because what you guys are seeing right now is just a tiny little piece of all the people that are behind making this conversation possible, making this talk possible. So thank you to everyone that made this possible. And yeah, hope to see you soon. Gracias.
Perfect. The very best and good luck in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.